Well, greetings everyone, and welcome once again to another Friday session of And the Winners Are, presented by the SPORTSKRIB Network. And let's get all our little commercial business out the way. As you can see up there, you can donate, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Our Cash App is $JEKing3. All proceeds go to the benefit of our different programs, and we appreciate all donations. With all of the commercial stuff out of the way, let's get right to the show. And Mike, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you today?
Oh man, hey, good day here in California. Not too hot, not too cold. Thought it was going to rain, but hey, never raised in Southern California, so I'm good.
It always feels the same way in Sacramento. It's like, is it gonna rain? Is it gonna rain? No. Is it gonna rain? Maybe. No. You just never know.
You hear a lot about the water shortage and and things like that, and we're only supposed to water your plants and stuff at certain days and certain times. Is there that thing going on up in Sacramento also?
I don't think so. It's not too bad. It's not like where you have to ask for a glass of water, or they won't give it to you. They normally give it to you. Some restaurants do, but for the most part, it doesn't seem like it's happening.
Okay, well, I guess things are getting a little bit back to normal then. Of course, I guess if you're in Mississippi, you still don't want to drink the water, but
yeah. Or Flint, Michigan, you probably don't want to be drinking that water either.
Yeah. Flint. I've been trying to raise water for Flint for quite some time, and it seems like people forget. I realize there are a lot of other things going on. The weather in Florida, and politics and things like that, but. Water is life. It's something that's people should. Well, a lot of people take it for granted, but if you visit some third world countries, you'll really get the idea of how important water is.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
But let me get off my political soapbox. We're talking about sports here. Up today, of course. We saw Aaron Judge hit 61 day before yesterday. Was it Tuesday? I think it was Wednesday. And after a 7-game slump where he didn't hit a home run, now he's kind of stuck on 61. Today he's had a strikeout, a single, and 2 walks. So. Still in quest for that number 62. But, unless you've lived as long as I have or close to it, I was around when, that great race was on between Maris and Mantle. One guy, next day, Maris would be at 59, and Mantle would come up and he's at 57 or I think Mantle finally got to 58, I think it was, and Maris hit the 61. But it was a race back and forth, and it's been 61 years since that record has been set.
Wow.
How long do you think it'll be before the next guy breaks Aaron Judge's record?
That's interesting. That's 61 years to break 61. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that anybody would break 61 or tie 61 again. With Bonds and Sammy Sosa just obliterating and Mark McGwire just obliterating that record, but there were circumstances why they did obliterate that record. And then if you go back, like you said, there's nobody. And then all of a sudden now we have Aaron Judge, which is kind of surprising to me because I really didn't think anybody would come close to tying this. This would, I mean, like 50 is probably the most I would see out of a ball player, especially in today's game where everything is so batter matchups. You're not having the pitchers pitch 9 innings anymore. They're pitching 6. You get fresh relievers in there. You know, it's really, really difficult to hit a lot of home runs in this league. Ballparks, you know, are depending on where you go, but still, it's one of those things where I didn't think 50 is. So maybe another 61 years, 62 years. Sure.
Well, I mean, you know, you think now he's what 20 ahead of the guy that's second.
Right. Yeah. 40, what is it? 40 something. Who is second? Who is second? I don't even know who is second.
I know, you know, it's so, you know, every time Judge gets up to bat, it's up there. But you know, I don't. All I know is that you know he's the man. He's running away with it. I know that. I think it. I'm thinking Guerrero, but it might be someone else. You know, I'd have to look that up.
Yeah, single season leader in records for home runs. Of course, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Aaron Judge now, Babe Ruth hit 60. So of course, Roger Maris beat Babe Ruth record.
Yeah.
And then Giancarlo Stanton hit 59 at one point.
Do you have it up there? How many years was it between the Babe and Maris before Maris broke the Babe's record?
Babe hit 60 in 1927, and Roger Maris hit 61 in 1961. So 40 years would be 67 minus 6, 34 years.
And then 61 years to break 61.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, but like you said, I mean, you know, it's much like, you know, football. You know, it's things that you don't really hear of anymore.
No.
Just you know, I was you know, looking at the herd the other day, and the question came up: who's the only quarterback to have 70 passing touchdowns and 20 rushing touchdowns in his first 3 seasons?
Wow.
And I thought back, and I'm like, damn, who is that? You know, Patrick Mahomes? No.
I would have
Josh
guessed
Allen? No. Who would you have guessed?
I would have guessed Lamar Jackson.
Kyler Murray.
Oh, wow.
70 passing touchdowns, 20 rushing touchdowns in his first 3 seasons. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, when you look back at records and you know, people of my generation are always talking, you know, records are made to be broken, you know, they've stood. So, hey, now they are starting to get broken. So, you know, but how did you do last week, first of all?
I did pretty good. Around 500. I was less than probably 500, but it's not too much less. Like if I would average it out, it's probably like 45%. I was like 60 something percent week 1, and then like 50% week 2, and then now like 45% week 3. So I'm not going in the right direction.
Do you have a lot of Raiders on your team?
I do. I think I have Jacobs and Renfro on a lot of teams. That's about it. I don't have Carr on a lot. Adams, not so much either. I would say the most I have is Renfro and Carr. I mean, Renfro and Jacobs.
And of course, Renfro is out.
Yep.
And Jacobs is not having his best year, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Little college football here. Kentucky versus Ole Miss. Who's Ole Miss go?
Yeah. I mean, what are Ole Miss is dropped down in the rankings too, right?
They're Kentucky. Kentucky. I think. Well, they're 13 or 14 in some polls, and in most polls, Kentucky is what 10.
10.
or
Yeah, I
10,
have.
either 10 or it could be interchangeable between them and Arkansas, depending upon which.
Which poll you're exactly looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kentucky dropped 2 spots in sort of the CBS poll, which is I think the same as the NCAA poll. So they dropped 2 spots, and Ole Miss rose 1. So 10 versus 13. I mean, I don't. If I have to go with anything, I'm probably going to go Will Levis in Kentucky in this game, but it won't be by much.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Now, does Will Levis have to put a win over Ole Miss on his resume in order for him to rise on his Sunday rankings?
I think so. I mean, this will be he came into the season sort of in the offseason as, okay, who is this Will Smith guy? Is he going to be good? He can be good. We'll see. And then he's sort of gotten momentum, of course, as Kentucky has moved on. But he's not there yet. He's not on. I don't think he's on the national stage. I mean, if you ask many people who Will Levis is, they'll probably tell you, I don't know. But I think if he can go out and have a very good game against Ole Miss, I mean, of course, you want to win. That's even going to take him further. But if he has a very good game and it's a loss, then they'll still remember the good game, even though it will be kind of shaded. So my answer to that question is yes. He needs to put a beating on Ole Miss on his resume to really put himself in a national spotlight.
Another kid that there's not a lot of conversation about as far as the pros, and that's BYU quarterback Jalen Hall. Uh,
Yeah.
You and Bill are the guys that watch these guys from the cradle to But what's your thoughts on him playing on a Sunday?
I think he's moving closer. I don't have him in my top 15 list as far as quarterbacks at this point, but as each Saturday moves forward, he's getting more recognition. We'll see by the end of the season if they make a bowl game or what have you, and of course, all of that will boost his stock. But at this point, he's just on that cusp, like QB 17 kind of quarterback right now for me.
Another team that's I've seen it on a lot of upset alerts this week. We have number 10 NC State against number 5 Clemson.
Mm.
Does Clemson have to get a win over NC State to stay in the top 5?
I think you do, but if they lose, it's not like they're going to drop far. I think it also depends on what happens with the top 4 teams as well. I mean, it's going to be pretty difficult for all 4 of these teams to lose. I mean, I don't see Georgia losing to Missouri. I don't see Ohio State losing to Rutgers. Alabama, Arkansas, that might be an upset. But if I had to pick a winner, it would be Alabama, and then Michigan should beat Iowa. So if they do lose, then yeah, I could see them falling out of the top 5, but not far. It's not going to be like they go to 15. They'll probably drop down to like 7. They'll be where Tennessee is right now.
Okay. Now, I kind of threw you a curveball here, and I think I threw everybody a curveball when I asked this question. Not so much because of the misspelling, but because nobody, I think, really thought about the Kansas City quarterback when you think about C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young.
Right.
But when you look at, who's going to be drafting this year, you looked at the draft order. Okay, probably Seattle, maybe first. Carolina might be looking for to move up and get someone.
Yeah.
So C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, and Jalen Daniels. Which one do you think is most likely to face a trial by fire from the team that drafts them?
Ooh, that's a tough question. It depends on who drafts him, but if we're just looking at the teams that are, as you mentioned, looking for quarterbacks, I could see someone like CJ Stroud going trial by fire just because they're going to want to win right away with him, and he's supposed to be really good. And if he shows up and he's Mitchell Trubisky, then that could be a huge problem. So usually it's the ones that are that's supposed to be great that have the most to prove. And I could definitely see either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud facing a lot of fire. Especially if one goes to the Giants, let's just say, and they're New York.
There you go. The Giants
and,
is another one.
Right. And that would be a lot of pressure, especially after if CJ Stroud goes to New York, that means Daniel Jones isn't there anymore. And they have had, just horrible experiences with Daniel Jones.
And I mean, I don't know if your coach can count him out, depending on what happens at the end of this year.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars and you barely tie the Houston Texans, luckily they showed up last week. Kansas City made a lot of mistakes to allow them to win, but it's still a victory regardless. So, but yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to be in chopping for a quarterback because Matt Ryan ain't it.
Yeah. So and hey, the Falcons. I'm sure the Falcons are going to be looking for somebody. I mean, like I said, there's some possibilities. Even though the Falcons, I think, are pretty content with. Is it Willis? Who's it?
Malik Willis is Tennessee, but they drafted Desmond Ridder.
Right, Ridder. That's what I'm thinking about. And hey, after a year sitting back, because unless one of those guys gets hurt, I'm pretty sure those guys are gonna, keep learning, holding the tablet. Luckily they're not holding the tablet for Brady. But anyway, that's
right. You never know when he's going to retire. They might retire before he retires.
Well, he broke 2 tablets. What was it, week before last? So I mean, yeah.
Oh, that, yeah,
yeah. Let's talk about the portal. I'm going to take a couple of weeks to talk about this because, as you can see, that there's a lot of guys we can talk about, and I picked out this group. We had some fun with it last night. By the way, by way of recognition of the great jobs that they do, Spencer and Spencer Restorations are on their way to Florida to help in the rebuilding of some of the cities and towns that have been ravaged by iron. So Ian, sorry. Spencer will probably be gone for the next, I'd say at least a month or so.
Oh wow! Oh wow! Well, good for him. That's awesome. I'm glad.
Yeah. So
much kudos to him.
Yeah. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the boxers that I interview. Especially those that are signed with former champ Antonio Tarver. They're located right there in Plant City, which is outside of Tampa. So our thoughts and prayers go to the families.
So Antonio Tarver is not to just move off that topic because it is a serious topic. I got my parents and brothers and stuff in Florida, but Antonio Tarver he's running his own camp or.
Yeah. It's Antonio Tarver Promotions. He's promoting his son, T2, and they have a nice little stable. They're getting ready to make their debut. They have right now they have a program still scheduled for the 22nd of October in Plant City. So we'll see. Hopefully, no rain and all of the after effects of the the hurricane. Maybe it'll give people a distraction from some of the things that
Sure.
that are happening. So we hope that this is something that the community can participate in, and most of all, keep our young kids off the streets, focused, and not killing each other out there in the
Yeah.
street. So
I love Antonio Tarver. I love when you fought. What was it, Ray Lewis?
Yeah.
What's your excuse this time, Ray?
Yeah, and Antonio had some great, some great fun in boxing as well as some great bouts. So yeah, I'm looking forward to working with Tarver Promotions on my Tuesday show, the Pugilist Corner. Yeah, shameless plug there. But anyway, let's talk about the portal. Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
we have Marshall running back, Khalan Laborn, uh, transferred from LSU. And he's now the third leading rusher among FBS running backs and is tied for seventh with 6 rushing touchdowns. How do you rank him among this year's group of running backs?
Well, not very high. I think a lot of that is due to size. I think he's only 5'10" and 185, 190. And then he's playing for Marshall, so he's already playing at a small school. So there's a lot of hurdles for him to jump over, even though statistically those are very nice stats. But he could be one of those day 4, day 3, day 4 kind of guys for sure.
Okay. USC quarterback Caleb Williams and Pitt transfer, uh, already a Bolitnikoff winner, uh, Jordan Addison.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be the next college duo, I believe. So, how do you rate this passing duo on the FBS landscape?
Yeah, one of the best. I mean, Caleb Williams has been amazing. Jordan Addison has been really, really amazing too. There's a few others out there, of course. You have Stroud and JSN, and you have others that might be a little bit better, but Williams and Addison are definitely up there as one of the best. I mean, when you think quarterback wide receiver duos, Williams and Addison have to be in the top 5 somewhere. I would believe.
Do you think they come out together, or do you think Addison comes out sooner?
I don't know what year is Addison a junior.
Well, let's see. He would have to. Well, he won the Bolitnikoff Award last year, so even if he did it as a freshman, he'd have to be at least. Yeah.
So I could see him. I could see him coming out this year for sure. Yeah, I don't see why he wouldn't. Very few wide receivers stay a senior year, anyways, just because they don't want to get hurt, and I don't blame them. And Jordan Addison is one of the better wide receivers, in college football. So for him to stay another year would be surprising to me.
But now, here's the thing, okay, and I'm surprised that you didn't bring it up because it was the first thing that Spence and Bill brought up. But I used it as the argument for him to stay, and that's the NIL agreement. He's going to USC. It's not like it's not like he's going to be getting a check in the mail,
right?
Well, and a substantial check in the mail. So it's so to me, and like I said, he's already won the Bolitnikoff Award once. I'm sure that there's not going to be a three-peater, but going to a school like USC, I don't see where there's the pressure for him to come out because that financial responsibility that the kids used to use as an excuse, right. Well, I need, to take care of my family and this and that, and you got a car dealer or, the Range Rover dealer, that's giving you whatever. I mean, so you don't have that excuse no more.
Right.
for coming out early. So what do you think?
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, and we also talked about, that, hey, there's no uh, tradition binding. Like, hey, my family went to Notre Dame. I'm going to go to Notre Dame.
sure.
My dad. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The tradition factor.
Mhm.
So, do you think that now these things ease the burden on the college athlete?
I think they ease the burden, but if I'm looking at a difference between 1 year of NIL money and 3 or 4 years of NFL money, I'm going to take the 3 or 4 years.
Okay, security,
Yeah.
more or less.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
okay. Um, Purdue wide receiver Charlie Jones, Iowa transfer. He ranks number 3 in receiving yards. He's tied for first with 7 TDs. That's more than he's had in his 25-game career.
Wow.
Does he have the first versatility to play on the next level?
Uh, you know, um,
See, I know, I tossed you guys out. I know I tossed everybody that they. You talking about a white guy wide receiver, really? Yeah.
well, if he could be a Wes Welker, or who else? There's not many out there that are white.
Amendola.
That's for sure. Amendola, and they're all small too. They're always like 5'10" and 185 pounds, and it's just like wow.
Come
Um,
on, a white boy that can run. You got to. I mean, come on. You can't expect him to be Usain Bolt. I mean, come on.
no, 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 not never, no. Um, he's a little bit bigger. I was just looking at his measurables. He's 6 feet and 188 pounds. So at least he breaks the 6 feet marker. Um, I yeah, we'll see how he does. He's Purdue is not like I mean, it's a huge school as far as schools go, but they're not Big Ten conference. They're not a threat to anybody.
Yeah, but they throw the ball, man.
Yeah,
It's not like when he was in Iowa. I mean, Iowa was, I mean, they look like the Steelers out there, and most of the time they played like the Steelers. The running game, the tight end game, and our defense will take care of the rest.
right.
So I mean, he's certainly going to get more looks at Purdue
That's
than
for
he
sure.
got at Iowa.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely, absolutely. And Purdue obviously found a mutual interest. I'd like to know what his 40 is. Let's see, wide receiver 40. Where did he run the 40 time in? Um,
he's pretty quick.
4.6 40. Mm, um, we'll see if he could do better during the combine, but yeah. Um, at a 4.6 40, you're probably not too excited about it.
No, he's more that precise route runner. I mean, I don't think he's not going to run past a lot of people
No, no.
anymore. Yeah.
He can get downfield a little bit. You can track it kind of well. Um, he's very competitive. Just trying to think of some traits, those kind of things. So I don't know. I mean, I think he's definitely an NFL player. I just don't know if he's like first or second round material.
Well, Bill and Spencer's put him in second or third round.
Yeah, I could see late second, third round kind of thing. Yeah.
Now, here's a guy that got mixed reviews from Bill and Spencer. Florida's offensive lineman, Osiris Torrance. He transferred from the Raging Cajuns following Coach Napier, and he's become the Gators' starting guard. What's your thoughts on Mr. Torrance?
To be honest with you, I don't really look at offense or defensive linemen. I'm all about skill positions, so I'm not too familiar with Osiris Torrance.
Okay. Well, let me see if you know this guy here. Uh, Ula Olatawami. He's plays for Michigan. He's a UVA transfer, and he has become the Wolverines' starting center.
Hmm. Well, I could tell you that they really run up the gut quite a bit. And when you're a center, that's your responsibility. So we'll see. We'll see what happens when they start playing tougher teams and how he plays. I mean, you're going to be excellent against the teams that he's faced, right? They haven't faced any kind of I offhand I don't remember who they've played, but they've beaten everybody, easily by 30 points or so. They allowed the most points last week. I think they allowed 17 points, but I forgot who it was against. But they've had a 7 point and a 0. They shut a team out completely, and 13 points, I think, or 17 points. So they've allowed 24 points in 3 games, and scored 45, 50. They're all been blowouts. So I want to see him against someone that's more competitive, and then we can go from there.
Now, one of the guys that you might be facing, and I don't know whether you follow this guy or not, but this kid from Penn State, I think he has the best name of everybody that I've put in this list. Chop Robinson. He's a Maryland transfer, and right now he has a 15.4 percentage pressure rate, and he's ranked ninth among FBS defenders. You guys are going to be playing Penn State this year.
Yeah, that would be an interesting matchup between Olaf Tiemi and Chop Robinson.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty good one. Let's see. Do you consider DB skill players?
Well, no disrespect to you, so I'll say yes. They're very much of a skill player.
But you don't follow them that much in the draft, do you?
No, not really. Defensive players, not so much. Yeah, I'm more offense, like quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends, those guys.
Yeah, prima donna guys.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Come across the middle a couple of times.
That'll change my reflection. That's for sure.
let me greet you. Let's exchange pleasantries across the middle here. Yeah, let me show you my Jack Tatum imitation.
No, I don't want I don't want none of that. I don't want none of that. That's for sure. No way.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little NFL, and I'm going to start out with a very skilled position. And even though you probably weren't around in 1983 with the
I was
draft,
11.
okay, well,
So not really around, but around.
well, okay, you probably remember your dad or people in your family talking about John Elway and Dan Marino. 1983 was considered the best draft ever. I mean, and a lot of old guys still consider that it is. But where do you rank the 2018 draft of Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson? Do you rank it in your top 5? Do you rank it in your top 10?
I think it definitely has to be in the top 10 for sure. I would have to really look at it for top 5, but I wouldn't have a problem with it being in the top 5. I mean, you have just, as you mentioned, Lamar Jackson, who's playing lights out right now. Even I'm like, wow. We'll see if that continues against Buffalo, but he's played just an amazingly well, been a whole different player than what I thought he's been the last couple of years. And then, of course, Josh Allen, who could be the best quarterback in the NFL, if not Patrick Mahomes. So, yeah, I mean, very well. When you have multiple quarterbacks coming out of that draft, then you're looking at one of the best as far as quarterbacks go for the NFL draft. I wonder, 2018, God, was it? No, it had to be less. Was it? Yeah, it was 2018, huh? NFL draft quarterback. Let's see who else was in that class. I
Well,
know
let's
that
see.
the other class
2000.
had like Black Edge and a couple of other ones. Mayfield's been okay, and yeah, that's about it. So Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. There's not really a third. I would imagine you have to have at least a third. And so I'd say top 10. Sure.
Okay, Aaron Rodgers calls Bill Belichick the legend as far as coaching. Do
Hmm?
you think that Bill could have been as successful with Aaron? I mean, I know that there's 2 years difference, so so do you think that Aaron could have possibly won 5 Super Bowls with Bill?
Oh, I think, well, they probably would have if Tom Brady didn't tear his ACL that one season. I think it was the season after they won the Super Bowl. And then he tore it like in week 3 or something to that effect. So if Aaron Rodgers doesn't tear his ACL, then they win 5.
Now let's kind of get into the other side here because do you think that Aaron would have been as team friendly to the Patriots as Tom was?
Probably not. I think Tom also was not really team friendly at the end. There was
Well, not
always
at the end, but that was after 7 Super Bowls. I mean,
sure,
I mean, but then again, if your wife is making more money than you are, I mean, that's also a factor. But you know,
true.
Aaron Rodgers, if you don't have the max put, behind those, those numbers, you know, he's, well, I mean, I have to, and I call it sexist, but when you go from uh, uh, uh what's her name, the race car driver, uh,
Oh, Danica Patrick?
yeah, to Blue Earth. I mean, somebody needs to test your judgment somewhere. I mean, that's just me speaking, but hey, I'm sure she's a nice lady. But anyway,
I like me some Danica Patrick. I'll tell you
I mean, if I had my druthers, you know what I'm saying, she can bring some crackers to bed. I'm not gonna be mad. You know,
that.
but anyway, we are after dark. Okay, so uh, so I mean, I question his judgment on many levels. I mean, so knowing the two personalities, do you think that they could have stayed together? And I mean, when you look at what happened with Jimmy G, you
Yeah,
know, and would he have been as adamant about Jimmy G? I mean, Aaron, as he was about Jimmy G until Mr. Kraft stepped in.
right.
So I mean, do you think that their personalities would have meshed long enough for them to have gotten past that hurdle and gotten to 5 Super Bowls?
I think so. I mean, I don't see Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady being too different as far as personalities go. You know, they seem very prima donnish and very kind of selfish when it comes to things. Even I don't know if you saw what Robert Fitzpatrick said about Tom Brady, but he tore into him like big time, calling him selfish. And I mean, Fitzpatrick beat Tom Brady, and Brady didn't even congratulate him; just walked off the field. And I mean, that's the stuff that Bill Belichick used to do. Bill Belichick left playoff games without shaking coaches' hands, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
you know,
No, I mean, like I said, we're just talking about them as football players. I mean,
right,
so, you know, uh, I I've played, especially when I got in the military. I played against guys like that. Where, every time if they overthrow you by 10 yards, but it's your fault. You didn't run the right route, or how come you weren't so well? Didn't you see me scrambling back there? No, I didn't see you scrambling back there because I was running my route.
Right,
So
exactly.
but anyway, I mean, and following skilled positions now, and I know, people have a lot of problems with wide receivers as prima donnas, and I won't say that it's not earned, but are there really anybody that's bigger prima donnas than a starting quarterback? I don't care if you're the starting quarterback for your high school football team. If you're the starting football, for your Pop Warner football starting quarterback, you have that mystique.
Mm-hmm.
The quarterback always gets the cheerleader type of thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Everybody, I mean, all the posters, quarterback, blah, 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 announcers at quarterback. We have blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
yeah.
It's always about the quarterback. Always. I mean, no matter where you go, it's the quarterback.
Right now, who's the best quarterback, Allen or Jackson?
Josh Allen. Josh Allen, yeah. I think it's a lot closer than I would have had at the beginning of the year, but I still have to go Josh Allen here. We will see next week. If you bring up this question next week, and if Lamar Jackson toasts the Buffalo Bills and breaks down that defense, I'll change my mind. But until then, right now, I'm going to have to go Josh Allen.
Well, now, okay, now see, now you kind of brought out the skepticism in me, especially my Spidey football sense here. Buffalo lost last week.
Did.
I wouldn't care who they were playing. Buffalo lost last week. Are you? I mean, do you think that they're going to go into the Ravens without a chip on their shoulder?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, especially after a loss, especially against a divisional opponent that lost this week on Thursday Night Football. Oh yeah.
Yeah, So uh, this week, I'm playing everybody I got from Buffalo,
Mm-hmm.
except for Singletary. I'm still not convinced about Singletary
Is he still in your doghouse?
yet. Yeah, he's still, you know, uh, but strangely enough, and it's not so much because of who he is, but it's because of the conference that he plays in, and because of he's the only one there, and that's Cordell Patterson. So Singletary's in, Cordell's out. Uh, but like
Yeah,
I
you
said,
can't really have Cordell Patterson on the bench. So
yeah,
yeah, I don't blame you.
yeah, yeah. Um, Zach Wilson is supposed to make his season debut against the Steelers. Does Zach give the Steelers the best chance to win?
Yeah,
And they in that losing streak?
I think so. I do. Zach Wilson is awful, and then he hasn't played, so he's going to come in and he's going to be rusty and all that kind of stuff. And Steelers defense is very good. They should really take advantage of how bad Zach Wilson is. So yeah, I do believe that the Steelers win and because of Zach Wilson. And maybe not so much of their offense, but definitely Zach Wilson and his throwing capabilities.
Yeah, I was never so glad to see them say that they're benching Flacco and and putting in Zach Wilson. I'm like,
It's like,
okay,
yes, now we have a
like
chance.
yeah, maybe Najee will get 60 yards this game, but anyway, we'll see. Speaking of that, the running back conundrum, the
Mhm.
rise and decline of running backs in the NFL offense since 2010. What do you think?
For
You can't.
sure.
I mean, you got to have them because I mean, when you got play action. I mean, you have to have them, but everybody knows it's all about that long pass downfield.
Yep. Yep. And that's what one of the areas that Lamar Jackson has gotten better at is long passes downfield. And that's, shown up on his stat sheet. So Yeah, I mean, it went from being a running game to a passing game, and not only just a relinquish of the baton to the passing game, but multiple running backs. So it's not just Priest Holmes that back there by himself, or Jerome Bettis back there by himself. It's Najee Harris and maybe Jalen Warren, or even the Steelers might be breaking off their tradition of one running back. So, yeah, it's been. But I do believe that football is always cyclical. It will come back to the running game again because teams will adapt and become more guarding towards the passing game, and so to defeat what the defense are doing, they'll revert back to the running game, and then the running game will be more prominent. But not for a while. Probably in the next 10 years, maybe. We'll see the running back starting to take shape again. But yeah, it's definitely a changed sport for sure.
Now, according to Maurice Jones-Drew, these three teams are being held back by lackluster running games. First team is the Raiders. They're averaging, they're rushing 80 yards per game, which is 28th in the NFL. The Chargers, they're averaging 59 yards a game, and that's 32nd in the NFL. The Rams, averaging 72.3, are 30th in the NFL. Now, two of these teams do have winning records. Let's see, are the Chargers still 2-1 or 1-2?
Yeah, I believe they're 2-1. Correct.
Okay, so them and the Rams, they still have winning records, but the Raiders are over.
Oh,
so do you agree with Maurice Jones-Drew?
It's hard to.
You cut off there. You're muted. You're muted.
Okay, here we go.
There you go. Yeah.
Why that happened.
Yeah.
But I lost my thought because
we were talking about the running game and the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Rams.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So I do believe that MJD has a point, but when you're Chargers and the Rams and you're 2-1, he doesn't really have a point. So Austin Eckler hasn't done well. Josh Jacobs hasn't done well. I don't even know what Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson is. I mean, who knows? That hasn't done well at all. But you're still winning football games outside of the Raiders. So it's like, yes, they've been held back because they haven't been playing well, but they're still winning. So how much holdback do you really need? It's all about getting that W. And if you're continuously getting that W, then I guess you live with the running backs being not all that great.
Well, I mean, when you look at the when you look at the Bills, look at the Rams. That is, I mean, they're 2-1. They beat the Bills, and who else was it that they beat? They beat two quality opponents. It's not like they beat, of course they should be 3-0, but it is interesting where you see the difference. If you just follow the history of the draft, where you couldn't go through the first round of the draft without having at least 5 or 10 running backs being picked within the top 25.
Right.
Now what we didn't have a quarterback even go off the board last year until the Steelers, right?
Yep.
That was the first. So,
and even Mike Tomlin's like, if I knew that these guys weren't going to draft a quarterback, I would have waited.
Yes. So it's kind of it's all about that guy that can run fast, and I mean, we all thought that Bullet Bob Hayes was an experiment. Now he's a reality.
Yep.
So NFL power rankings now have the Eagles in at number one. You
Hmm.
think that's a bit premature?
Yeah, I do. They could be the best team, but I don't think so. They got a great defense. Jalen Hurts is playing tremendous. They have a okay running back situation. Wide receivers are pretty good. Tight end is pretty good, but to be the number one team, I need to see more. Yeah, I definitely need to see more before I say okay, they're number one. I think Bills would beat the Eagles if they faced off with each other. So I would not put the Eagles at number one.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the spread when we get to it. 'Cause hey, I'm after what Jacksonville did to the Chargers.
Yeah,
I'm really leaning toward the Jags.
they
But
look good. They
but hey,
not only they're winning ball games, but they're looking good doing it. They look solid.
and their players are putting up great fantasy numbers.
Yep. Hmm.
Yeah,
Hurt and all of them.
I mean, if you just have to go back to it, but uh, so tell me, Mike, why do you think that Russ and Nathaniel Hackett Broncos are struggling? And can the Broncos win without a mobile Russ Wilson?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Nathaniel Hackett is one of the worst coaches in football. That's one of the reasons. I think also breaks just haven't bounced their direction. I mean, they should have won week one. They had two goal line carries that were fumbles. I mean, I don't know what the odds of that are and how often that happens in the NFL. But I mean, any of those go in and the Broncos win that game, and that could change the setting for the next two games. But they also haven't been playing great either. So I think it's just a mixture of things. I mean, Russell Wilson has not been good at all. I don't even recognize who this guy is. So it's one of those things that where everything just hasn't come together. It doesn't mean it won't, but right now Russell Wilson looks like the worst free agent acquisition in 2022.
And if you can put Russell Wilson on a trading block and not get any takers, you know there has to be something wrong.
Yeah, something's definitely got to be wrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's make our week four predictions. Okay. Well, we saw what happened Thursday night. Of course, you know, a lot of controversy about the way those games were handled and how Tua was handled between Sunday and Thursday.
Hmm.
Now, of course, I'm from the old school, rub some dirt on it, you know, go take a drink of water, walk around the bench, and you'll be all right.
Right.
Of course, they don't play that no more.
Nope.
Now, and I mean, I still have, a wire in my jaw from playing corner where, didn't see that pulling guard and my head wasn't on the swivel. And unfortunately, he swiveled the whole thing. But that's another story. So,
I've been there.
we.
I'm usually the one giving it. I'm not pulling guard.
Okay. It was you that it was an MF there.
Yeah, I was in there for sure.
Yeah, but you know, so you know, um, I think and we've talked about different quarterbacks and the way things have been handled because we all know that there were in the past and presently the guys that are playing that uh, we call it getting your bell rung. You know,
Hmm. Yep.
so and you do have those minutes where uh, you might not know exactly where you are on the field. You know that you're on the field. You
Yep.
might not know what field you're on, but
Yeah.
I mean, but how do you think uh, the Dolphins and the medical staff handled Tua's situation? Now, are we going by the letter of the rules where the doctor says you're cleared, so you're fine? Or are we going by what our eyes tell us?
Right.
And the fact, now I've had a, a few concussions,
Me too.
and usually I want to go somewhere where it's quiet. I don't want to hear no sounds. I don't want to hear. It's one of the few times when I probably don't even have the desire to hear a sound in my head or some type of visual effects.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that Tua was watching TV on his way back,
Mm.
on the airplane.
Mm.
Now, airplane, I'm sure, noisy and whatnot, but you have, the mask you can put across your eyes and go back and, maybe it's not conducive to sleep, but you can rest. So, you know, considering the way that he handled it as a player, considering the way the organization handled it, and considering the way the independent doctor handled it, do you think that Tua should be playing Sunday?
You mean Thursday or this Sunday coming up?
This Sunday coming up, he already got wheeled out of that game Thursday.
Right. I
He-
didn't know if you meant like should he have been playing Thursday or
no. Should he be playing this coming week?
I'd hate to make that decision, but after 2 concussions in 4 days, I'd say no. I mean, I trust the medical experts in this, and I'm not a medical expert, obviously, but if I would have to make sort of that opinion, that judgment call, whatever, I would say no. 2 concussions in 4 days. I hope you're not playing for a couple of weeks, because that's pretty scary.
Yeah, I
Especially
mean,
after the Thursday one where his hands were all gnarled up and everything, and it was just awful.
it's like a fight. What it reminded me of was a fighter getting knocked out.
Yeah, that fencing pose
Yeah,
that they do. Yeah,
yeah, and I mean, that usually when you see a guy's hand shake like that, that's one of the that tells you that this is something that's really serious.
right.
I mean, I'm I hate to make the comparison, but to me, a concussion is a concussion. Doesn't matter how you get your brains rattled around. The fact is that they were moving in places that they shouldn't.
Yeah,
So that's suppose he comes out, uh, 2 weeks from now and he can't call plays because he can't remember to play, or
yeah,
he can't, or he doesn't have, or he can't enunciate. You know, are you going to say then, "Oh my God, what have we done?" I mean, I mean, you know, like under any circumstances, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I don't
yeah,
care how you cut
absolutely.
it. You
Yep.
know. So let's get into our week 4 predictions here. The Vikings -2.5 at the Saints.
Vikings 2.5 at the Saints. Yeah, I think that's good for me. I take the Vikings in a victory, and it's not going to be by much. So 2.5 sounds about correct.
The Clowns by giving 1.5 to the Falcons at home. The
Because
Falcons
they're
are,
the Falcons are at home.
yeah.
I think the Falcons win this game by a field
Okay. The Commanders +3.5 at the Cowboys.
goal. Ooh, so Cowboys. That sounds about right. I think Cowboys 3.5, 4 points. Yeah, for sure. Could be anyway.
The Seahawks +5.5 at the Lions.
Yeah, that's kind of a flip, right? You wouldn't see the Seahawks being the underdogs in this, but the way that things have been transpiring, I do. They're missing a lot of players though this week. The Lions, a lot of DeAndre Swift's out. Amon Ross, I think, is
yeah,
out.
he's out also.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
go the under in this, so I'm gonna say Seahawks actually win this game.
Oh,
Even
okay.
though that's a big spread, 5.5 points to say Seahawks win, but I don't see how the Lions do with so many missing key point players.
Okay. The Titans giving 3.5 to your Colts at home.
I'm hoping the Colts win. They lost to the Titans twice last year. But I think, I think Colts win by a field goal. So I'll go the under. Colts win by a field goal.
The Bears plus 3.5 at the Giants.
That's another weird one. I think the Giants win this. The Bears are just awful. But it's not going to be a blowout, so that seems about correct.
The Jags plus 6.5 at the Eagles.
Whew.
Now I'm taking the points here.
I would too.
I like the Jags defense.
Mm-hmm.
Especially seeing what they did to the Chargers, even though Herbert might not have been 100%, but still the Chargers. Excuse me. After I don't know if I told you on the show or whether it was Bill and those guys, but when I found out that the Jags had the 5th highest paid defense in the NFL, of course that doesn't make a whole lot of sense because the Steelers had the highest ranked defense, paid defense. But I looked at that Jags defense. I looked at how they kept the runner, the not just Eckert in check, but also Mike Williams. Mike Williams is usually if you look at fantasy football and that, Mike Williams is usually the TD guy.
Yep.
Keenan catches the passes, and kind of like Pollard and Ezekiel.
Right.
Pollard takes you down, and Zeke takes it in.
Yep.
Well, Keenan takes you down, and Mike catches the touchdown pass, or so. What's your thoughts on these Jags? The Eagles look good now, but 6.5 to me, even visiting, the Eagles don't really show me, one of those breakaway teams. They're more the steady but consistent, and they're one of those teams that if the quarterback has a bad day, the team has a bad day more than usual. So I'm going to take that 6.5. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Eagles win, but it's not going to be by 6.5 points. So I would take the under in this.
The Jets plus 3.5 at the Steelers.
Yeah, as we talked about, I think Steelers win this game. So a field goal seems to be about correct to me. So 3.5 points, absolutely.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have more confidence in the Jaguars than I do the Steelers. But
well, I don't blame you. When you have Mitchell Trubisky as your quarterback, it doesn't bring you a lot of enthrallment.
The Bills minus 3.5 at the Ratbirds.
Oof. Bills win. I agree. I think they shut down Lamar Jackson, so I think it's going to be a bigger spread. I'm going to go over 3.5 with the victory.
The Chargers minus 5.5 at the Texans.
I think this game will be the under as well. I think Chargers will win, but it's not going to be by 5.5. It's going to be more by like 3. So I'm going to take the Chargers in the under.
The Cards plus 1.5 at the Panthers.
So they're saying Panthers to win this game against Cardinals. And
the Cardinals, the Cardinals are getting 1.5. So the Panthers are supposed to win this at home.
That's interesting. If the Panthers beat the Cardinals season is over. I don't see that happening. I'll take the points in the Cardinals.
Okay, and for the biggest spread of the week, the
Ooh.
Pats plus 10.5 at the Packers.
10.5. Wow. Packers is complete domination in this game. I don't think they have the offensive pieces to beat the Patriots by 10.5 points. I'm going to go the under, and I think
Matt Jones this week, right?
Yeah, no Mac Jones. But they're a running team anyways. They'll milk that clock. That defense is pretty good. The Packers offense, I mean, if it was Devontae Adams was there, then I could see a 10.5 spread. But without just that kind of pieces together that they have, I'm going to go the under. But I do believe Packers win this game, like 24-17 kind of game.
Okay. The Broncos plus 2.5 at the Raiders.
The Raiders need to win. So I'd take the Raiders in the field goal. Yeah.
Okay. And the Monday night game, the Chiefs minus 2.5 at the Bucks.
Chiefs minus 2.5. So yeah, I'll take the over on this, but I do believe Chiefs will win.
All right. Now we get to my starter, Mercedes.
Yeah.
Vikings quarterback, Captain Kirk.
I would sit him. I mean, I want to start him, but he just hasn't been very good this year. Maybe things change around, but in a top 12 situation, I don't think he'll finish in the top 12. So he's going to have to be sat.
Falcons quarterback, Marcus Mariota.
He could finish in the top 12. So I'm going to say start him.
Cooper Rush.
He hasn't been too bad, but he's not a top 12 guy. I would say sit him.
Jared Goff.
I do believe he'll finish in the top 10. He's changed things around this year. Jared Goff, yes, you can start him.
I've given your quarterback a new name. Colts quarterback, Shaved Ice.
Shaved Ice. He's been shaved quite a bit, being sacked I don't know how many times and fumbling so many times. So that's a very name that's apropos. I would say he's not a starting quarterback.
Ryan Tannehill.
Not a starting quarterback.
Justin Fields.
Nope.
Davis Mills.
Nope.
Jalen Hurts.
Yes, for sure. Jalen Hurts, yes.
Derek Carr.
That's a tough one. I could see him finishing the – yes, go for it. Top 12. He's going to finish like either 11 or 12, maybe 10, maybe, but 11 or 12. So, yeah, go for it.
Jimmy G.
No, not a starter.
Zach Wilson.
No.
All right, let's talk some wide receivers. Alan Thielen.
No, unfortunately.
Drake London.
I could see him finishing the top 24, sure.
Noah Brown.
I think Michael Gallup plays this week, so I'm going to say no.
Curtis Samuel.
Absolutely.
Robert Woods.
Not in the top 24 now.
A.J. Brown.
Yes. A.J. Brown, top 24, absolutely.
Brandon Cook.
Oh, man, Brandon Cooks is falling off. I'm going to say no until he can start becoming at least around wide receiver 30 at least, but he's not even that right now, so I'm going to say no.
Garrett Wilson.
Not with Zach Wilson, no.
Let's see, a couple running backs here. Cordell Patterson.
Yeah, I think until later in the season, you could start Cordell or Patterson with confidence.
Tony Pollard.
That's a close one, but I'm going to say no. I just think they share the ball too much.
A.J. Dillon.
Oh, man. I don't know what happened after week one. A.J. Dillon the last couple of weeks has fallen off. But they'll need him, so I'm going to say yes, he'll finish somewhere in the top 24.
Antonio Gibson.
Yes, he should finish in the top 24.
Damian Pierce.
Ooh, that's another close one. I'm going to say no, but it's close.
Josh Jacobs.
Yes, he should finish in the top 24.
Najee Harris.
I'm interested to see how much more of a split that's going to become with was it Jalen Warren? But right now I'm going to say yes, he'll finish in the top 24.
Michael Carter.
Nah, I think Bryce Hall is starting to take that role over, so I'm going to say no.
Jeff Wilson Jr.
Very close. Sure, why not?
Penny.
Man, I don't know what happened with Rashad Penny, but like any game he can blow up in. So I'm going to say yes. Go for it. Top 24.
Let's see, a couple tight ends here. Golf Swain.
No, probably not in the top 12. I'm going to say no.
Let's see who else I got down here. Dallas Goedert. Goddard. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. I think Dallas Yogurt is probably going. I call him Yogurt. You'll finish in the top 12.
Firemuth.
Oh, another one. I call him Pat Firemouth. Yeah, I think he'll finish in the top 12 too.
Can we safely put Pitts back in the lineup?
I think you still have to start Pitts, but man, it's not what everybody thought was going to be a couple of years ago. That unicorn is that horn is starting to shave off week by week.
Njoku.
Yeah, I think so. He's been a surprise this year. And with Jacoby Brissett loving to throw to tight ends, I think you very well could. Yeah.
Ertz.
Yes, Ertz definitely.
Tanyan.
No, probably just outside the top 12.
Who's my guy from New England?
Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
He's been bad this year. I don't know what happened from last year to this year, but he's just been really bad. I'm going to say no until he can get inside the top 12.
Logan Thomas.
He's a verge top 12 guy. Sure. We could say he'll finish inside there somewhere.
What about McLaren?
Oh, he's been awful. Wide receiver. I think he's like a wide receiver 28 right now. So he could finish in the top 24. So I'd say yes.
Okay. Let's see. I'm looking at some guys that might have a breakout. Let's see. I asked you about Swain already. Give us some guys that you think might be sleepers this week.
Sleepers. Kareem Hunt against Atlanta might be a good sleeper for running backs. Let's see. Antonio Gibson was not really a sleeper. Jamal Williams against Seattle could be a sleeper. Let's see who else is. Herbert against the Giants. That might be an exciting situation.
Any Jaguars against the Eagles?
Jaguars, that's going to be tough against the Eagles, but I think you still start James Robinson. Trevor Lawrence, I think, is a verge top 12, but I think he'll fall just outside that, like QB 14. Christian Kirk could be someone that you could start.
Consistent, if nothing else, this year.
Yeah, exactly. Zay Jones, maybe not, but he's coming up. And then, not against the Eagles. I think Christian Kirk and James Robinson can be the only guys that you'd want to start as Jaguars.
Um. Oh yeah, you mentioned the injuries to the Lions. Uh, any sleepers there?
Yeah, Jamal Williams, I think, could be a sleeper. And then Josh Reynolds can be a sleeper against Seattle.
What about the Saints? Michael Thomas seems to be nicked again. Another guy that can't stay healthy.
So, yeah.
You got the rookie looks promising, but
Chris
he's
Olave, yeah.
yeah, he looks promising, but he's not. I'm not ready to turn over. The the range to him quite yet.
Sure.
And you know, uh, I'm not sure what Jameis Winston am I going to get. Am I going to get a third quarter Jameis Winston? I mean, am I going to get
Well,
the?
Danny Dalton this week.
Yeah, that's right. So any sleepers there? Should we start Andy? I mean, what's your thoughts there?
I think Jarvis Landry could be a sleeper now that Michael Thomas is out, because he should be alone in that short to intermediate, which Andy Dalton should focus on very well. So I think Landry could be a sleeper there. Absolutely.
Okay, I know they're favored by 10.5 points, but who in the hell is Aaron going to be throwing these 10.5 points to?
Yeah.
Do I start Lassard? I mean, who do I start other than the running backs?
I um, I don't think you. I mean, the only one that you probably could start maybe is Romeo Doubs, but that's not really a lot of confidence. I mean, I don't. I think a wide receiver is going to have a good game, but would that be Doubs? Would that be Alan Lazard? Randall Cobb? I mean, I don't know. That's the issue. Is one receiver probably do well? It's just we don't know which one that's going to be.
Okay, let's talk about the Raiders. I mean, if you have them, I know you have to play. I understand that, but what happened to the rest of the weapons that Carr had? I mean, there was a time when you could depend on Waller, you could depend upon Renfro, those guys to catch those intermediate passes to keep, drives alive. Like I said, Waller, the tight end, Jacobs. Now, I mean, where do your points come from if you're David Carr?
Yeah, I mean, when they brought in
I mean,
Devontae Adams, it seemed
I'm
like his
still
offense was going to be explosive, but it hasn't been explosive at all. Devontae Adams had a great week 1, but week 2 and week 3 have been meh. As you mentioned, Darren Waller and Hunter Renfro. Hunter Renfro has been out the last 2 weeks. He'll be out this week with concussion protocol, and then, so you're worried about that. That's 2 weeks in a row now. Him being not passing the concussion protocol. Darren Waller hasn't been all that great. Foster Moreau is shown some signs of life, but I mean, Matt Collins has been the star of this team, and when you say Matt Collins, you say who? And when he's the star of your team, you're really saying, I don't know what the hell's going on with this team, and I don't know. I really don't. This team should have been a lot better offensively, and they're just not.
Who gains the most yards this week? Jonathan Taylor or Derrick Henry?
That's going to be a great matchup. Because Tennessee's defense sucks as much as they do. I'm going to go Jonathan Taylor, and the Colts defensive front is much better. Just based on matchups, Jonathan Taylor should win this battle.
All right, guys, you should sit this week.
Ooh, good question. Who should we sit? I don't know. That's a very good question. Trying trying to look at
Okay, let's give you a couple examples. Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I think you can sit him just based on the fact that I don't know who's it going to be. Is it going to be Javonte Williams? Is it going to be Melvin Gordon? Is it going to be both? And they both just kill each other's value? Yeah, who knows?
Jared Judy.
Yeah, definitely sit Jared Judy. He hasn't done much of anything this year.
Let's see. Let's talk about Kansas City, because you don't have that one guy anymore. That you can kind of know Tyreek Hill. So, do you start any of Kansas City's wide receivers?
Yeah, and Juju Smith-Schuster is probably the best receiver on the team, and he hasn't really done much. I think he had a good week 1, but it wasn't fantastic. I don't even think he might have a touchdown.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And let's see where is he ranked right now? He's the 46 right now, and he's the best receiver for Kansas City. Yeah, correct. He does not have a touchdown. 14 receptions, 178 yards on 19 targets. Wide receiver 46 on the season. Yeah, no, I think you can avoid all receivers starting with a WR. Of course, you don't want Travis Kelce bench, but anybody else that's going to catch passes on a frequent basis, no.
What about Hilaire?
Yeah, Hilaire's shown up pretty well. I mean, he was someone written off by a lot of people coming into this season because he hasn't really shown much in his first 2 years. He's been really just awful. But he's been he hasn't been great, but he's been a lot better than what he has. He's a running back 5 at this point, 116 yards and a touchdown. And he's caught 12 passes for another 2 touchdowns and 115 yards. This is kind of the Clyde Edwards-Helaire that we all thought he could be, and he's starting to show it. So, yeah, I think you can start CEH.
Miles Sanders against that Jacksonville defense hasn't given up a lot of rushing yards.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really good. Miles Sanders right now is an RB25. I wish he'd catch more passes. He's only caught 6 on the season. I would say that you probably bench Miles Sanders against this Jaguars defense.
Anybody else you could think of? Let's see. Delvaney. Yeah, Delvaney against the Bills. Is it Delvaney or Duvernay?
Duvernay.
Duvernay, yeah, Duvernay.
No, I think Poyer is too good. And he's much Duvernay is a very field stretcher kind of receiver. So when you have those 2 safeties back there, I don't know if the other one's playing or not, but I believe Poyer's playing. So I would bench. But he's a good DFS play, someone that you want to sneak into your lineup and for a cheap price, and that could explode. So I would put more DFS action on him than I would actually fantasy football.
What about is Gabe Davis back this week?
Yeah, Gabe Davis is back. I think that's a good option for him.
Wide receiver 2, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think he can be a wide receiver 1 just because of Stephon Diggs being there, but
2 or maybe a flex.
Yeah, wide receiver 2 flex option for you. Sure, absolutely.
Okay, I know you kind of mentioned it before, but do I start Henderson or do I start Akers?
Yeah,
trade for Akers if I got Henderson. What's
I would.
I mean, what's your thoughts there? Because there are some teams, some leagues where Akers is available, and I do already have Henderson, and I'm thinking whether or not I should trade Akers for Henderson.
I would. No, I would trade Akers. I would do the reverse.
Yeah,
Get
trade Henderson for Akers. Rather,
Yes,
that's
I
what I
would
mean.
get Akers on your team. I think they're leaning towards, but wait till see this week to see what they do. Last week it was all Akers. The week before it was all Henderson. So, but we don't know if that's because Akers is back to normal or what. So let's. I would wait to see what happens this week to see if Akers continues to get that hefty load, and if he does, then absolutely.
Yeah, but then he probably won't be available if I wait another week. But
Yeah, that's true. If you want to take the risky side, I would say go get Akers.
Allen Robinson the second.
Nah,
Not sure what the hell to do with him.
yeah, I think you could probably drop him. I'm sure there's probably better options on the waiver wire than what Allen Robinson's been doing this year.
Well, Van Jefferson is still on the IR.
True.
So you don't know. You don't exactly know the situation with him. And if you don't have Akers or Henderson or Cooper Cup, I mean, if is Robinson the only viable Ram?
Outside of Cooper Cup, probably. Tyler Higbee is probably their second option over Allen Robinson. I mean, Robinson is caught 7 passes for 88 yards and a touchdown in 3 games. If this guy ain't washed, I don't know who is. You know what I mean? In fact, Ben Skowronek has caught more passes and yards than Allen Robinson. The only reason why Allen Robinson's above Ben Skowronek is because he's caught a touchdown. When you're losing targets and receptions to Ben Skowronek, then I just don't think there's much left in the tank for Allen Robinson. I think he's done. Who?
Ayuk, Brian.
Oh, Brandon Ayuk. No, not with George Kittle in the fold. No.
All right, man. Well, hey, it's surprising how fast 90-minute goes here.
It does.
Really but hey, final thoughts for the evening, man. Any tips that you want to give the guys? It's been kind of the last 2 weeks with the upsets. It's once again it's kind of like if you start out like the Raiders 0-3. It's hard to get that momentum back. I don't care whether it's in fantasy football or anywhere else. You start second guessing yourself about who you start and who you're sitting, and all of a sudden, these first year players are getting targets and they're picking up points, and you're expecting Jonathan Taylor to go off, and all of a sudden he's held to 86 yards and no touchdowns.
Right.
Sometimes it gets a little discouraging in the fantasy game, but like I said, give some of our guys some tips. Some places that maybe they should look on the waiver wire. Like I said, in some places you got some gems available. You have Ayuk available. You have Michael Carter available in some cases, and you have some guys that that are going to be on the mend, and sooner or later they're going to make contributions. But what do you do in the meantime? So you're our fantasy guru. Give us some tips here. Tell what am I telling that guy that's starting out 0-3?
Well, the first thing I would tell him is that in my 30 years, 0-3, I've probably done about 10 times, and have made the playoffs 8 of those 10 times. And 0-3 is a horrible start. There's no doubt about it. But don't get discouraged, because when I started those times, and I learned that in my 30 years that you break it up in sections. You're 0-3 now, doesn't mean you won't be 1-3, and then the next 4 weeks you'll be 3-1, and then guess what? You're 500, and you're right back in. Way too early to give up. Work that waiver wire. See what you can trade. See what you can get for your players. Do what you need to do. I would suggest a waiver wire immediately and work. Just grind, and you can come back from this. It's a very. You might think it's a race, a speedy race, but it is a marathon. It's not a death sentence, and just keep fighting.
All right, man. Well, hey, look forward to talking to you next Friday. Let's see what the coaches poll looks like. Who has that in the two big games that I mentioned?
Yeah, that's gonna be
North
fun.
Carolina State and Kentucky against. So let's see how that ends up. I had predicted that by now that Aaron. Well, I think I set the over under at 63 for Aaron Judge, and it's right now it's still at 61.
When does
So
the baseball season end?
I'm thinking next week.
Next week? Oh, okay. So he has plenty of time to hit those extra couple.
Yeah, I'm thinking he has. Well, the rest of the weekend, of course, and at least a week, I think, because I think it might be Wednesday or something like that the season ends. But I know it's very close.
Yeah, I stopped paying attention once the Giants were out of it. So I'm just like,
all right, man. Well, hey, I'll see you next week, and you know, if you get a chance, tell the audience where you are on social media, and tell us a little bit about the Red Zone.
yes, sir. So you can follow me at RFL Red Zone on Twitter and basically almost anywhere else. On TikTok, I'm Mike Valverde, so you don't have to look too far for that. Those are usually my two big social. I'm not a huge social media kind of guy, but yeah, you can find my writings at Football Absurdity. Do a lot of underground work. So when you're looking up statistics for Player Profiler and you're looking at those kind of things and metrics, those metrics come from somewhere, and it comes from the group of us, and I'm part of that group. So that's where you can find my work at Player Profiler and at FPN.
Oh man, yeah. Hey, I think I'm going to have Mr. Scott protesting in front of your house. All I can do is tell him you're one of those analytics guys. I can,
Yeah,
I can
I
have
am.
I can have a crowd in front of your house in 15 minutes. No, I didn't. Have a great week, Mike. I'll talk to you next week, man. Have a good
You
one.
too, sir. Have a great week.
All
Talk
right.
to you soon.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Hope you all enjoyed another episode of And the Winners Are. Hope we helped you with your fantasies this week. And hey, like I said, you can subscribe, like and subscribe. Hit us up on that Cash App. We love all our audience. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next week right here on Friday. And the Winners Are.